I think we have something in America here where too many parents want to be the cool parent.
Right. I agree
They
with
want to
that.
be the cool parent. I'm trying to be the effective parent. The kids may not be, or your teenager, your 18-year-old, 20-year-old may not be mature enough to understand why you're doing the things you're doing. Do them anyway.
In your culture, how do you train your next generation?
Ooh, how do you train them?
Hmm.
I
And
have
we're
a
talking about,
lot.
A
are we
lot of
talking
people
about?
just kind of like, I heard a gentleman last night, he was speaking about how his children didn't know what a credit score was or how it
Hmm,
works. Like there are certain things that you're supposed to give your children so they can make it in the world, and a lot of people just are failing to do that. So I want to know, like in other cultures, are there certain things that they teach them to prepare them to be adults or
mhm.
independent?
So
Like,
I believe it's a few things because it's I believe it's very hard to raise kids here in the States because as a parent, you're not even when we talk about being a bad parent, it's not even your fault most of the time because you combat here in this place we live in, you're combating so many distractions and bad influences from your children. And those influences are coming in outside of what you're teaching in the home. So you have to start like so what I'm about to say is going to sound like really you actually have to take over your children's lives in order to cover them enough for them to listen, right? So you're talking about finance and all of this. You have to stop them because we live in a very pretentious society. Designer everything. The people are saying they got designer vagina now. Like I was like, what? Like you see what I'm saying? They hear this stuff. It's 100% immersed in the culture. So you're gonna have to think as a parent. They spend more time at school than they do with me. I'm going to have to be just as intense. And when I use that word, I'm talking about my father. I never understood the intensity to which he was raising me, but that's exactly what he was doing. He was counteracting every single behavior I brought in the house that he witnessed himself from outside, right? The stuff that he didn't like other kids doing, the things he would talk about with other parents, he'd see it in me in immediate correction. Now it's not just a talk, he's taking it over. He's having me go, he's having people come over. You don't go to your after school, you go to your uncle's house, that type of stuff to shield me. You got to shield your kids from all of that. So even to begin to train them, you have to take over their lives, right? You have to put them in activities, stop them from hanging with certain friends. That's a big one, no matter how bad it hurts them.
yeah.
So training them, you have to set the table for that, right? Because it's so easy to say, well, I'm at work, they're playing with such and such, they're responsible, but those influences they get during that time that they're spending literally puts a wall up to your teaching getting through, your training getting through. So I think that's first and foremost. You got to take their lives over, shield them with incredible amount of intensity, right? They should not even understand why you're doing the things that you're doing until you're older. And I think that's
Trigger Mike.
yep.
Oh, I have a question for what you're talking about. What is the difference between doing what you're doing and helicopter parenting?
Helicopter parenting. I'm not familiar with the phrase. Can you? I'm
Like
pretty sure in
Helicopter
context
like you
parenting.
hover, you're always like over them watching them.
there's no difference.
Not only that. I mean, it gets worse than that. Helicopter parenting is smothering the child in a way where, to the point where they can't be independent because you've been there so much that they don't even know how to live without you, which is the opposite of what a parent should be doing. So, what is the difference between what you're saying versus
Okay.
helicopter parenting?
So yeah, I think the way I explained it definitely sounds like helicopter parenting. But the one thing that I believe a helicopter parent wouldn't do is some parents have the bad habit of doing things for their kids so they know it's done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Showing them and not allowing them to practice. I believe it's one as a father, especially. I know that competency does not happen from the screen, right? It doesn't come from the teaching, it comes from the doing. And I believe it's helicopter parenting when you're only striving to teach and tell without without having enough faith in them to let them try by themselves. So, yeah, even though my father did that, all that stuff, he was super intense, he got the hell out of the way and let me try it, right? He just prayed like, I hope this goes well. I hope he doesn't embarrass me. But I do believe some parents shield their kids from everything. Well, I don't want this to happen to my kid. Guess what? They'll never be the best. They'll never be anything because they can't go against the kids with the organic knowledge that have fell 30 times and 29 times and got up 30, right? So
To add to Amira,
So-
what she was saying, I have a quick question. When you were saying that like you shield them, that they don't know why you're shielding them, what did you mean? Because I don't want to say something and
So,
it's because I misheard you.
think about the immaturity.
Okay.
Like, I think we have something in America here where too many parents want to be the cool parent.
Right. I agree
They
with
want to
that.
be the cool parent. I'm trying to be the effective parent. The kids may not be, or your teenager, your 18-year-old, 20-year-old may not be mature enough to understand why you're doing the things you're doing. Do them anyway. That's
See,
what I mean.
for my household, when I wasn't allowed to go to slumber parties, and my mom may not have explained all of the reasons why, but at the same time, it wasn't a mystery to me because my mom is someone who she was just like, I'm doing this for this reason because it's protective. When I had a question, when I was like, okay, well, why are we doing it? My mom would always be like, this is why. And it was, she showed me the dangers of the world without necessarily, you don't have to experience it. I can tell you what's there. I can tell you, what do you want to know? I can tell you what's out there. I can tell you what can happen in the situation. I can tell you what can happen in that situation. I can tell you how to get out of this situation. But when she had to, obviously she protected me or she would stop me from doing something. But when we sat down and we had a discussion, because she was open always to having those discussions, it was, I'm protecting you. And whatever age I was she would share for this reason. Like when I was 5, she was like, you're not allowed to sit on a stranger's lap. Did she necessarily explain to a 5-year-old why you weren't allowed to sit on a stranger's lap? No. But when I got a little bit older, she would explain a little bit more. Or she would tell me, like when I was 5-year-old, don't let someone do this and don't let someone do that. And make sure you know what this is and make sure you know what that is. Because my mom found it so important to protect me, but also to give me the knowledge that I needed to survive, to be able to say, to be able to communicate if there was an issue.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
I wanted to say that, well, here, the first thing to train them, and
The chocolate always.
chancla, and we know how to aim from far away. Boom.
My mom did. My mom had good aim. My mom came into me. I was reading a book. I was supposed to be cleaning my room. My mom came in with the chancla. But the thing is my mom is ADD, and she went, "Is that no flying in the house?" I used to read that when I was a kid, and she left. And I was like, "This book's," and I never returned that book back to my teacher. That was a borrowed book from school. I never returned it. Like, you saved me from the chancla, like a gift.
But the thing is that I'm not saying that, you have to beat your kids, because that's not what happens. It's just that you just show it and they're like, oh, I don't want to get there. I don't want to go there,
I'm gonna
But
say
it doesn't mean that you never done it. And you don't,
You gotta beat them.
it's whatever
I guess
parents
think
think.
growing
I
up,
was, hey,
You don't have to say it. I will beat them.
I got my ass whooped every day when I was little. Every day, literally. By
Is
my
there
dad,
anyone on the
my
panel that
grandma,
didn't
or
get
my
spanking?
grandpa. But I have to say, what we do here and what I notice is that it's guidance. They allow room for growth to make to make mistakes too, and they kind of like, the biggest lesson. Well, they influence you. They give examples. It's more coaching. But for me, the biggest thing is you gotta earn things. We don't even have that gifts exchange for Christmas. You gotta earn things. Like, I can have the possibilities of buying you a bike, but if you don't deserve it, F that. We're not getting you that. We're not giving you that. So it's more like you got to earn everything that you have. So at the moment that you want to leave this house, what do you have? What do you earn? What is something that you have gotten by your own ways? Nothing. So it's like you don't have a bed, you don't have nothing. So that's kind of like a way that how they do it here. And I think it works most of the time because they appreciate more. Like, hey, you got to earn your food at the same time. How do you do that? Do the dishes, take the trash out, like gather your toys. Depending on what age are you. So it's more like a teamwork. You got to help in the house. You become like someone. You're not just there existing. what I would say.